demands of the different kinds of living entities. And the Supreme One, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, alone maintains them and supplies them by his inconceivable energy. Again, Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Just a moment. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So by humble obeisance to all the assembled devotees, I beg for all of your blessings. Vanchakalpatarubhishya kripasindhubhyevacha. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So really amazing verse actually. Actually, the first line in the translation itself uh, is um, very enlivening and very inspiring for devotees. I'll come to the purport and I'll come to the verse, but the first line of the translation, Prabhupada quotes this verse so many times that Parasha Shakti Vividhaiva Shruyate. That Krishna has so many amazing, wonderful energies working all over the universe. And Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna has so many wonderful energies. His energies are divided into mainly the pleasure potency, mainly the internal potency and the external potency. So as devotees, we want to remain in the internal potency of the Lord, or we're trying to come in the internal potency of the Supreme Lord. So if we simply have a desire to cooperate with his desire, or have a deep desire to fulfill his desire, to fulfill his mission in this world, then we will never be a failure. We will never be a failure. So this is very inspiring for us as devotees. There's so many examples in our Shastra about how just by surrendering to the Lord, or just by desiring to please the Lord, one becomes supremely successful in devotional service. Like so many examples are there. Of course, it is quite materially inconceivable and difficult to understand. But a practical example is there. That Sudama, although Sudama was such a poor Brahmana, and although Sudama's wife asked him to go to Krishna, hey, Krishna is your dear friend. You go and ask Krishna for to help us with our poverty-stricken situation. And she thought that for him to go to Krishna empty-handed is quite shameful. So therefore, she gave little chipped rice and said, "You give to Krishna." And it is explained that how Sudama was approaching the kingdom of Dwaraka, that how Krishna, by his inconceivable potency, in one place, Sudama took rest because he was very tired. And Krishna, by his inconceivable potency, transported him to far closer. It's like, it's explained like Vrindavan Dham is a lotus. And the same way, Krishna can expand and shrink the dham according to his desire. And therefore, Krishna willfully, he shrunk Dwaraka, shrunk that particular land, so that Sudama, when he woke up from his sleep, he was so close to Dwaraka. And then when Sudama came to Dwaraka, Krishna ran, and Krishna ran with so much enthusiasm, so much excitement. Krishna ran and embraced Sudama and spoke to him with such affection, with such love. And then after that, not only that, normally people in this world, they speak with affection. I mean, but not only Krishna spoke with affection, but then Krishna served Sudama so nicely. Krishna washed Sudama's feet. Krishna then gave him a very nice place to stay and served him very nicely for 3 days. And Sudama was leaving. Uh, Although Sudama's wife told Sudama to ask Krishna, Sudama was very ashamed. And not only ashamed because of Krishna's love and affection, Sudama forgot everything. And then Sudama left. And when he left, uh, on his way back, he was thinking, oh, I'm going to go back to meet my wife. And even though she asked me for a request, I completely forgot about that request. And yes, I forgot to mention that Sudama gave that chipped rice to Krishna. Actually, Sudama was so ashamed, so feeling so small in front of Krishna, that Krishna is the supreme Lord, is living in a palace, etc., etc., etc. But this chipped rice is very insignificant. So Sudama didn't give that chipped rice to the Lord, but Krishna snatched that chipped rice, and Krishna ate with great relish. So anyhow, so when on the way back, Sudama was feeling so bad that he didn't fulfill the desire of his wife. But when he approached his home, he saw that instead of the place where his home, his humble home, simple home, poor home, there was a very opulent palace. And in that palace, there was a very opulent lady dressed in very opulent clothing coming out of that palace. And he was shocked that, oh, who is this lady? And then he came to know that that is his wife. So from this example, we can understand that Krishna has so many energies, and that Krishna, just by his mere willing, Krishna can do everything. My dear Lord, you are self-determined and are the supreme personality of God for all living entities. So Krishna's determination, mere willing, is enough to create ecstasy, to create so much happiness in our spiritual life. So actually, what we're doing in our life is, although it may seem like we are dealing with money, we're dealing with objects, actually, we're dealing with people. The goal of our life actually is to please people. If you see, even in material life, many times I ask the example that the reason why someone works, someone has a family, etc., 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 is simply to please his family members. Like one gets so much energy and so much happiness in the material sphere by seeing the smiling face of his family. So, in the same way, as devotees, the goal of all our endeavors in Krishna consciousness is simply to see the smiling face of Krishna and the smiling face of Srimati Radharani. So that's the goal of all our activities, and it's very important for us to meditate on this point, that that is the goal. That is the goal. And so, since that is the goal is to please them. And because this process is a constant offering to the Supreme Lord. What is the difference between Bhakti Yoga and other yogas? In Bhakti Yoga, or pure Bhakti Yoga, real Bhakti Yoga, pure Bhakti Yoga, the goal is at every moment, at every act and every thought, the goal is to make an active, conscious offering to Krishna. And that is exemplified by the pure devotees. That the pure devotees, their every act, every gesture is for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. They are attempting to please the Supreme Lord and his multifarious associates. So if we understand that we're trying to bring pleasure to the Supreme Lord, and then that becomes very inspiring to us, because Krishna is not a stone, Krishna is not marble, but Krishna is a person. And so when we try to please Krishna, Krishna reciprocates. Krishna reciprocates. so when we contemplate like that and we study the examples of the great devotees, that how that every act was a conscious offering to Krishna. Like Raghav Pandit, the great example in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that from the beginning of getting the coconut, trimming the coconut, his every act, he was so sensitive, he was so um, conscious of Krishna being involved. And so every process was so delicate. Just like example is that when we go in the altar and we do some service, how careful we are. How care every act, and if we drop something, we immediately we beg forgiveness, and immediately we feel so bad that, oh, why I dropped that thing, why I made that noise, why I caused disturbance. So it's in the same way, a devotee of the Lord, in every part of the process of executing his Krishna consciousness, is very mindful, very conscious of not only what he is doing, but with what consciousness he is doing what he is doing. So this is very important, because this is only between us and Krishna. This cannot be perceived. Of course, great souls can perceive, but we have to be very conscious of this, and that's why it is very important to study the example and the mood of the great devotees. So by studying the moods of the great acharyas in their execution of devotional service, one actually comes to understand how to develop the mood, because bhakti is all about mood. Prabhupada says Krishna accepts the mood. So all the things that we do is simply to communicate the mood of our devotion to Krishna. So so many examples of are there of how the mood is so powerful. Prabhupada says that one old lady used to every day simply bring a cup of Yamuna water before Shri Radha Damodar and offer it. Very humbly, very simply. And Prabhupada said every day Krishna accepted that. So this is very important, that for us as a devotee, Prabhupada is saying yesterday in a class, that we have to um, we have to practice self-discipline. The whole purpose of Vaidhi Bhakti is self-discipline. What is self-discipline? Prabhupada says the purpose of self-discipline is to train ourselves in such a way that we don't identify with the body and mind. So what do we identify with? We identify with Krishna's pleasure. His Grace Vivaksha Prabhu says that the best way to actually come out of mode of passion, ignorance, and goodness, and come to the platform of pure goodness, is actually to identify with the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So if we can identify with Krishna's pleasure, then and we can become happy by seeing Krishna happy, then that is the easiest way to become situated, at least to some extent, on the transcendental platform. So how do we do this? Prabhupada says the way we do this is by reducing our eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And then Prabhupada says, no, not reducing. Prabhupada says completely zero. And then Prabhupada says, Anya Bilashita Shunyam, that no other desire. On Monday, Prabhupada was speaking, that Prabhupada says, why we are in this material world? Because of our damned desire. This is Prabhupada's direct words. Because of our damned desire. And then Prabhupada says, this body, this material body, there is no limit to how much this body desires to enjoy. That's why we came to this world. So we can never satisfy the body, we can never satisfy the mind. It will keep crying, it will keep asking. So the only way, Prabhupada says, is to become busy in the service of Krishna. Busy in the service of Krishna. What is the meaning of the holy name? Prabhupada says, O Krishna, O energy of Krishna, please engage me in your loving service. In your loving service. So, yes, it is very important for us to engage in loving service of the Supreme Lord. But in order to engage in loving service, the most important thing is that we need to understand what is service, who is the object of service, and what is real service. And that's why Prabhupada has written so much literature to understand, to help us to understand what is required to awaken the spontaneous or the loving mood of service to the Supreme Lord. And also the example of how the great devotees, how they served Krishna, how they loved Krishna. So this is the topic of all of Prabhupada's literatures, all of Prabhupada's books, is through his personal experience. Prabhupada is trying to make us understand. So Krishna, although Krishna may come to this world, just like a lotus flower, Krishna is untouched, untouched. Man proposes and God disposes. So when Krishna decides something, then that determination is absolute. Absolute. Many times as sadhakas, we ask the question that, oh, I have a desire to do something. I have a desire to improve my sadhana, but it is not happening. I have a desire to improve my seva, but it is not happening. Why is that? Why is that? So in order to determine that why our sadhana, our seva, our determination is not becoming successful, all we have to do is we have to look at the example of those who have been successful. So those who have been successful in this path of bhakti, Avanti Brahmana says this famous verse, Etam sa asthaya paratmanishtam, paratmanishtam. The nishta, the fixation is para. It's like para bhakti. So that nishta is very, very strong. Adhyasitam purvatamair maharshibir. Aho tarishyami duranta param tamo mukundangrini sevaiva. So he's saying that why is it that I am 100% sure that I will be successful? Because I am following the footsteps of the great acharyas. So the great acharyas, their secret in bhakti is that they followed the footsteps, followed the instructions of their guru, of their superiors very, very carefully. So that is the only thing required for us to become successful in this path of devotional service. That even though it may be difficult to be successful in this path due to so many reasons, but if we simply become deeply attached to and we deeply meditate on how we can please our spiritual master, our authorities in Krishna consciousness, then our plans will always be successful. So, like in the last paragraph, Prabhupada is saying that Krishna has arranged this world to simply fulfill all our desires. So, everything in this world, unfortunately, is not going to inspire our Krishna consciousness unless and until we try to surrender, try to serve an exalted devotee of the Lord. Because only by His grace we will have the correct kind of vision. Because we came into this world with the vision of an enjoyer. So when we look at anything, we want to enjoy, But only by the mercy of the Lord, mercy of especially the devotees of the Lord, only then can we change our vision from the vision of enjoying to the vision of serving, to the vision of seva. So we should pray regularly to the Supreme Lord that please change my vision, change my thought process. That instead of natural thought processes, how can I enjoy, how can I be happy, but rather how can I serve, how can I serve, how can I serve. So this more and more we take this understanding into our heart and we try to act through this mood, the more we'll be able to give Krishna pleasure. And ultimately, that is the culmination of the greatest devotees of the Lord. The greatest devotees of the Lord, headed by none other than Srimati Radharani. What is Srimati Radharani? Basically, I mean, who is Srimati Radharani? She is actually the ultimate personification of Seva. If spontaneous, uninterrupted, loving, unmotivated service to the highest extent uh, can be can take a form, and that form is Srimati Radharani. So pure, unmotivated, uninterrupted service. That is Srimati Radharani. So in order for us to be successful in Krishna consciousness, all we have to do is we have to increase our service and our service mood, our service mood. So Prabhupada says, how can Krishna be known in the purport? Prabhupada is saying, Shabda Mulatvat. He can be known through the Shabda Brahma or Vedic literature. Now, what is Shabda Brahma? Shabda Brahma is pure spiritual sound vibration. And actually, to be more exact, Shabda Brahman is actually the vibration of Golok Vrindavan. So a pure devotee, why is someone a pure devotee? Because he transmits that pure sound vibration from Golok Vrindavan through his words, through his words. So uh, because his sound vibration is pure, therefore he can create pure devotion in the heart of so many living entities. And because his sound vibration is pure, therefore by his sound vibration, so many wonderful things happen in this world. So it may be difficult to conceive, but uh, actually, what does the work in this world? What creates spiritual institution in this world is actually a sound vibration of pure devotees. And that's why all we have to do is we have to put our full 100% unflinching faith in the pure devotees of the Lord and become more and more attached to them, become more and more attached to their mood, their pleasure, and their activities. It may be difficult, it may be very difficult for us to become attached to Krishna, but it is very easy for us to become attached to the pure devotees because they are so much closer and so much more relatable to us. Uh, and all we have to do is we have to become deeply attached and we have to desire to become their instrument in the service of the Lord. Then, by their mercy, by their potency, everything will happen so wonderfully. Will happen so wonderfully. So, um, I mean, I already spoke last Saturday on this, but I'm repeating this because repetition of a good thing is good. So, the three main obstacles, enemies of a sadhaka is actually specified by Bhakti Thakur. He says that doubt, first is doubt. Doubt, the creation of doubt happens when we don't, when we actually, doubt happens, the seed of doubt happens when we desire to be independent. When we desire to be independent from authority, from Guru, from Krishna, we want to be independent. Then the next thing which happens is we don't want their pleasure. We want our pleasure. Independent means we want our pleasure. So when we want our pleasure, then we start doubting them because now we want our pleasure. So if you want your pleasure, then you won't identify with their pleasure anymore. It's very subtle. So you don't identify with their pleasure anymore. Since you don't identify with their pleasure, then you stop getting pleasure in Krishna consciousness. So you stop getting pleasure in Krishna consciousness. And next thing which happens is after doubt comes idle talk. So now you start taking shelter of not Krishna Katha because you don't identify with Krishna's pleasure anymore, you identify with your pleasure. So therefore, you start speaking about Katha, which may not be completely Maya Katha, but yeah, I mean, very, very vaguely related Krishna Katha. And you start thinking about how can I become powerful in the institution? How can I, you know, plan my future? How can I, in this way, you start deviating from pure Krishna Katha. And then eventually you get frustrated because you understand that you cannot plan your future, you cannot become powerful, you're not becoming happy. So then the next thing which happens is aparat, or actually blasphemy. Actually, what happens is that in our course of our daily dealings, I mean, this is my practical experience, that when we speak insensitively towards devotees, insensitivity means that we don't care what they feel, we just speak. So what happens is, like Radheshyam Prabhu says, like the example of winning the battle but losing the war. I mean, I'm not paraphrasing exactly, but basically we become insensitive. So when you become insensitive, then aparadh happens. So when you do aparadh, and when I do aparadh, I do so many aparadhs, then what happens is that the divinity in the consciousness goes down. And I mean, this is my personal experience. So during the consciousness goes down, then as a result of that, you stop feeling the same happiness, the same nourishment, Krishna consciousness that you are feeling. And then, so many byproducts are there. The weeds grow, so many things. So basically, the root of everything is the desire to become independent, the desire to become independent, to not to surrender. So the only way we can not uh, fall prey to this kind of victim in our spiritual life is to constantly desire the pleasure of not only our Guru, not only Srila Prabhupada, but actually our direct authority, our direct Shiksha Gurus. Mm. And actually, ultimately, all the purpose of our Shiksha Guru, our authorities, everyone is simply to create a wonderful atmosphere in our mind so we can always think of Krishna. That's all they're trying to do. Because once you think of Krishna, you are always able to keep Krishna within your mind, and there is no problem at all. There is no problem. Like, it's very interesting to note that how is it possible, like on his Ranad Maharaj, because he's very close to our current generation, how is possible that him and so many others, they were serving New Vrindavan without without very little amenity, very little comfort, so much service, and no appreciation for their service also. Who would appreciate? Prabhupada used to come rarely, rarely. And on top of that, they had very little association also. Very little association. They didn't have all the seminars. They didn't have all the amazing literature that we had today. And they didn't even have so much time to read also. You know. So how they were so happy in Krishna consciousness? Why? They were so happy in Krishna consciousness because simply because um, they always desire to be dependent. They always desire to surrender. So because of their mood of surrender, they're always so happy. They were so happy in Krishna. And Ranadma said that they were also happy just doing. They didn't want to go anywhere else. So how is it that they were so happy in Krishna consciousness because of this mood? So the whole purpose of bhakti, Mahaprabhu recently we celebrated the appearance. Mahaprabhu's appearance is to teach the process of surrender. Mm. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jivi Doya Kori Swaparshad Shiodham Shava Avatari. And in one of the lines of that particular song, it is said, Shikhaye Sharanagati Bhagatera Pran. So this Bhagatera Pran is very important saying, very important phrase. It says the life of a devotee is actually surrender. This process of the mood of surrender. Because ultimately Guru and Krishna's mercy does all the work. Prabhupada says, my Guru's mercy is what is running this movement. How is it possible to explain to a materialist? You know? So the thing is that Guru's mercy is what does everything. Like recently, I was thinking, I was serving on the altar, and I was thinking that how that although we may do so many things, we may do so decoration or offerings. Ultimately, what is required to actually please Krishna is pure desire. So that means it's basically no hope to please Krishna. But the only hope is our gurus. So if we try to please them, if we try to follow the process that is given by them to please Krishna, then we please Krishna. And all we are doing in our process of Krishna consciousness is we are trying to extract the Krishna consciousness, the realization from their heart into our heart. And then by extracting the consciousness from their heart to our heart, and as we develop more and more, then one day, Prabhupada says, then one day we actually become fit to serve Krishna. We become fit to serve Krishna. So we have, just as Prabhupada says, we have very intimate, loving relationship with Krishna. In the same way, we have very intimate, loving relationship with our Guru, with our spiritual masters and the Vaishnavas. So by pleasing them, by serving them, we can actually come closer and closer to Krishna. And ultimately, we can always, the greatest pleasure, the greatest happiness as devotees, we know, at least theoretically, we know, the greatest happiness is to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. That is the best situation we can be in. So, of course, it's not very easy. It takes a lot of patience. Actually, in Bhakti Yoga, the most important thing is actually to be very patient. First, be patient with oneself. And actually, this is a great secret in Bhakti Yoga. That recently I was meditating that what is required for us to always have Vrindavan consciousness. Like if you want Vrindavan consciousness, what is the most important thing? And then I came to my mind that Trinadapi Sunichena, that verse. Because for Vrindavan to manifest in our mind, only Guru can manifest, only Mahaprabhu can manifest. We are powerless. So for them to manifest, what is very important, most important thing is actually for our mind to be in our control. And basically mind, the mind is only the face. Says mind is only the face. The actual thing is a false ego. So actually the way to control the mind, the way to discipline the mind is, because that is Krishna's greatest instruction. Krishna's greatest instruction, Bhagavad Gita, for the sadhakas is Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena. Abhyasa and Vairagya is to always try to think of Krishna and Vairagya. So both these things are accomplished by this verse Trinadapi Sunichena. So Trinadapi Sunichena especially is applied when things don't go in our way, and when we actually agree to accept unfavorable situation. It may be anything. The more and more we accept unfavorable situation and we tolerate without speaking anything, the more, this is, you try this practical experience, the mind becomes grave, the mind becomes sober. And when the mind becomes sober and grave, mode of goodness, then that is the best platform to actually appreciate Krishna consciousness, to appreciate the pure sound vibration of the pure devotees of the Lord. So tolerating unfavorable situation is very helpful for us actually in Krishna consciousness. Like it may be anything, like in our family member may speak something we not like, our family member may have some habit, it may not be very very palatable to us, right? So the more and more, although yes, we have to practically make arrangement, that's all right, but the more and more we accept that okay, this situation that Krishna has put me in is the best situation for me to become a pure devotee, more and more we have faith in this point, more and more we can really make advancement in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada says, by our mind, we create our environment. So the more and more we purify the mind and we apply this Radhapi Sunichena, more and more and more, more and more we make advancement in Krishna consciousness, and we ultimately, who is Who is responsible for our taste in Krishna consciousness? It's Guru, actually Guru and the previous acharyas. They are responsible for our taste. So as long as we try our level best to please them, we try our level best to please them in whatever way possible and through their instructions, then by their mercy, they will give us the taste. They will give us the higher taste in Krishna consciousness. So this verse is very, very important. That's why after Trinalpi Sunichena comes na dhanam na janam na sundari. Because by this process of tolerating, becoming humble, giving respect to others, the mind becomes sober. The mind becomes sober, the mind gets a higher taste. The mind gets a higher taste. And only when one gets higher taste can one renounce dhanam, janam, and sundari. Otherwise, it's artificial renunciation. So that's why we have to be, yeah, very, very conscientious about this point. And we all have the complete opportunity to make complete progress in Krishna consciousness. In any situation, Prabhupada says nobody can stop your advancement in Krishna consciousness. Absolutely nobody. Only we ourselves. So Mahaprabhu is so many devotees, they set the shining example of how they applied this verse. So many devotees applied this verse. Like Srivas Thakur, I'm just taking his example so to relate with everyone here, that Srivas Thakur's son died and Srivas Thakur tolerated that. And he not only tolerated, he made his whole family tolerate that grief for the pleasure of Lord Chaitanya. So, I mean, what can be more difficult to tolerate? I mean, tolerating your own anything is one thing, but tolerating your dear child's, death, it's very difficult to tolerate, right? But see, Srivas Thakur set the example, and because of that tolerance, what happened? He won Mahaprabhu's heart in such a way that Mahaprabhu said that I am your family member. And I will personally maintain you. Just think about this. If Krishna promises to us that Krishna will maintain us, do we have any worry? Do we have any problem? No, we won't have any problem in our spiritual life. So actually the purpose is to actually invoke that kind of protection of the Supreme Lord, that Krishna, please always protect my consciousness. Guru, please protect my consciousness. Please don't allow my consciousness uh, to go in such a way that I will forget you. Of course, I haven't got that mercy yet. But yes, that is our goal. That is our goal. Actually one time His Grace Devakinandan Prabhu actually is this a disciple of Mahavishnu Maharaj mentioning that we always stress on this point that why we are not thinking of Krishna. Why? But he said, no, actually he said that this thinking of Krishna is a gift of pleasing the spiritual master. Like so many examples in our Shastras, like see Dhruva Maharaj, a 5-year-old boy, how it is possible for him to have so much determination? Like he has no association, he has no reminder. It's a young boy. It's Guru Kripa. Guru Kripa is so powerful. It's so powerful. It's so powerful that even among all unfavorable situations, even if the mind is disturbing, even the mind is agitated, Guru Kripa is so powerful that it will not allow you to stop, to weaken your determination in Krishna consciousness. It's so powerful. Like it's crazy. Also, bro, initial days when I came, we were just handful, very few, and you have to do all the service. So how is it that Prabhuji has so much determination? Because he has absolute Guru Kripa. He has 100% Guru Kripa. So we can see that in his talks, in the way he speaks, in his consciousness, he's unlimited Guru Kripa. So only when we get that Guru Kripa, and that's what Narottam Das Thakur is praying to Lokanath Goswami, that Narottame Korodoya Apanara Goli. Apanara means my own. So when we can act in such a way that Guru's loving eye is always fixed on us, whether physically or not physically, Guru's eye and of course Krishna's eye, if Guru's eye is fixed, then Krishna's eye is 100% fixed. Like the best praman of this is actually Chaitanya Bhagavat says that Krishna is promising that if anyone's body is just touched even one time by air, the air that has touched Nityananda Prabhu's body, Nityananda Prabhu's deity, and I will never neglect that person. Krishna says that. So anyway, so if someone has Guru's absolute mercy, that means Guru's eye is always fixed on him. Guru's mercy is always on him. Then there is no problem in spiritual life. You can do anything, can live anywhere. So, all the purpose of our spiritual life is to come to that point, is to invoke that kind of mercy of Guru, and of course, that happens by following the instructions of Guru and the senior devotees. So, this is the purpose of Bhagavatam, is to invoke the mercy of the Lord. Right? That famous verse in Bhagavad Gita is saying that without Krishna's mercy, you cannot accomplish anything. You cannot accomplish anything. It's only Krishna's mercy at every moment which actually will help us to come out of Maya. So that's why we're all begging for that mercy at every moment. And hopefully, by our practice of Krishna consciousness, if we can melt the heart of great devotees of the Lord, that is our only hope to become fixed in Krishna consciousness. So, does anyone have any question or comment? Online, does anyone have any question or comment?
No, Prabhuji, thank you so much for the wonderful class.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I'm searching for that verse in Bhagavad Gita that actually speaks about this point, that only by my mercy you will cross over all the obstacles. So I think it's there in the second chapter. Fuji, which is that verse, Fuji, in second chapter that says only by my mercy you will cross over all the obstacles? Yeah, Machita Sarva Durgani. Okay. Yeah, 1858, Fuji. Yeah, 1858. So that is the verse. By my grace, you'll cross over the obstacles. Okay. Please forgive me speaking anything wrong or offensive. Manchakapatarubyasya kripasindhubhya vacha paritanam pavanabhyasya. Nantakoti vaishnavachyasya.